Hi and welcome to my channel. My name is Diana and in this video I'm going to show you my tiniest sketchbook ever and all the stories behind sketches in it. Here's how it looks up close. I bought it on AliExpress and first impressions were positive. But later it started to fall apart. You can see that glue and stitching are not in good quality, but somehow it survived and nothing fell off completely. To sketch, I used mainly this small art toolkit palette with my basic 7 watercolors in it and a water brush. All the other supplies I used you can see here, quite a limited set. I had no specific plans for the subjects. I thought it would be just the quickest option for sketching on walks or while traveling, but after a few months I realized that I make a sketch every month in a new place, a village, city or even a country. So at that moment I decided to continue it like that. This meant that in some months I had to go somewhere just to add something to this tiny sketchbook, which led me to wonderful new adventures and memories. This idea made it really special and that's why it took me a year to complete. I tried to create on the spot when I had time, but some sketches were made later based on photos. And now I'll finally show you everything, also adding some pictures somewhere here from the places where I created every of these sketches or made a reference for them. At the moment, I live in 2 hours from Lviv in a smaller city, and we don't have much choice on art events here. That's why I go to Lviv sometimes for exhibitions and for drink and draw sessions. On that trip, I lived in front of the opera theater in a very lovely apartment. I was scared of that first blank page in a new sketchbook, so decided to make a very simple 5-minute sketch based on windows and a tree I saw from the window. Next one I made in Zakopane city in mountains in Poland. My brother lives with his family in Poland. I wanted to combine a mountain trip with visiting them, so we spent few days there together. I sketched this candle while waiting for lunch in a restaurant with the really breathtaking view. It was very cold, but a cozy family trip. Right after that winter adventure, I went in Athens with my friend. I drew this sketch while discovering Piraeus port city. And while it was snowing in my country that March, in Greece it was even possible to swim in the lake. In April, it finally started to get warmer in Ukraine too, so I started to go on sketching walks, and here are 2 of them. This one was in park in the center of Ternopil city where I currently live. There you can enjoy ice cream while looking for squirrels in the trees or strolling along the lake with lots of cute ducks. Here I make a very fast ones with my Copic drawing pen, and then I decided to make a more detailed one with just a liner. This second walk I had somewhere around my birthday. I was drinking matcha tonic and captured its bright green color with my new bright blue phone. And there are bright red tables also in that coffee shop I was sitting in, so I thought that would be an ideal color addition to that sketching session. I think these girls were also enjoying long-awaited warm weather. May was the special month, not only for this year, but for my life. I made my dream come true and went on my first horse riding tour. That was on Italian island Sardinia. These sketches are not representative at all, but I had no time to sketch at that amazing adventure. Since there's war in Ukraine, all our airports are closed, so you can leave the country only by land transport. That's why here I have a sketch from Budapest, where I went by train and spent some time there waiting for a plane. I tried to sketch a view along the river but it was too cold near the water to make it any better. And the next one I made on Sardinia island already, and it was a happy accident place. We lived in Sant'Antioco town during our horse tour, and one day I had a bit of free time. Using navigator to a coffee shop, I went in, placed my order, sat down, and suddenly noticed that something was wrong. It turned out that I had entered not the one I was looking for, but the next one door. I name it a happy accident because I really like the atmosphere and interior around, along with my tiramisu and coffee. I'm thinking of making another video with the story of that horse riding trip and a series of mini paintings I made later based on my photos and impressions. So let me know if you're interested in such kind of video. The next one was another happy accident. I wanted to go on plein air in village Baikivtsi. I loved that place and I was going there specifically to draw some cows from life. On my way of finding cows, I stopped to go to the toilet in random bushes. But when I went behind those bushes, I found a tree house next to a stream and a swing above it. I think that's quite fun that there was also a real abandoned toilet with this cute heart hole. After such an almost magical Narnia story, I found cows nearby and sketched them, of course. It seems as if I'm making up all these crazy stories, but magic really does start to happen through adventures when you least expect it. The next trip had to be as simple as possible. Me with my husband went to our friends in the neighboring city Ivano-Frankivsk. There's a volunteer project to restore beautiful old doors of the city, so that's why I decided to sketch doors there. And only at the end I noticed that all 3 doors I chose were on the houses number 4. 4 number has always been my unfortunate one, so in this coincidence I'm still not sure whether to be surprised or scared, including what also happened in November that I'll talk about later. August's sketch was without surprises. We just went to a small city named Chortkiv to catch last warm days in a pool with panoramic view. I made it only with liner on place and finished the color at home because I didn't have turquoise color with me there for that clean, beautiful water. On September, me and my husband went to Kyiv. The main goal was to visit the exhibition in Shevchenko Museum, where my painting also took part. And then we just enjoyed walking together here and there. This sketch is a fountain from a shopping mall where we came to buy my first maternity clothes, as my pregnant belly just started to grow, and that was happening quite fast. Here we found a young cute pigeon in the park near the glass bridge, where we made a photo for the fake newspaper in memory of this our journey together. On the next one I noted a light grey crow, which are common in Kyiv, but I haven't seen any of them in other Ukrainian cities I've been to. This one seated on lanterns on Trukhanov Island on Dnipro River. We got there through a long pedestrian bridge. Then we visited the National History Museum, which we had to return to 3 times to see everything, because it's quite large and closes during air raid alerts that were frequent that day. This skull is Deinotherium, which means awful creature. And this was one of the elephant family types. This skull and skeleton was found in Ternopil region, where I currently live in, so that's why I decided to sketch this one here. And the last one from Kyiv I made from a photo and spent more time on it. And that's why it looks more like a tiny painting than a sketch. We visited a big botanical garden and there was a tropical greenhouse where I spotted and captured these beautiful water lilies. Also in September we visited Eco Park in Sataniv village. I'd like to mention that Sataniv sounds as place of Satan, and the Chortkiv city, which I mentioned earlier, sounds like place of devils. That would be quite fun, but linguists believe that these names have another origin. The park is a specialized rehabilitation center. It serves a home for rescued bears and other animals that have suffered from abuse or poor keeping conditions in captivity or were saved from frontline regions. These two spreads I also made when we returned home, so they are more illustrative. A few exotic ones welcomed us at the start of the park, and then there is a long high bridge by which you go through a forest with tens of bears underneath. Bears live there in that semi-realistic conditions, many of them sitting like this, waiting for some veggies that visitors can throw to them from that bridge, and there are mostly bears, but wolves are living with them as well. And the park ends with some other species, a few different felines, birds and ungulates. On October there was another situation with number 4. I went on a women's tour to the Ukrainian Carpathian mountains. We drew the room number in a lottery, and my 4th was this crazy one with the open bath and the bed under the glass roof. And during my first night there, I suddenly woke up and was delighted by the sky, which was covered with a myriad of stars. I took my phone to check the time, and it was 4:04 a.m. And this was one of the amazing sunrises with such a crazy color scheme with all the colors you can imagine. The next spread is about mid-season in the mountains. On one day we were swimming in panoramic pools under the warm, shiny sun. But the next day we had to wear winter clothing and took jeeps to reach Mountain Meadow somehow for a misty photo shoot. I caught a cold for 2 weeks after this adventure, but I mean, look at these photos, it was definitely worth it. I was a bit tired at the end of the year, and I don't really like that season of dark and cold coming in, so I decided to cheat and combine 2 last months into one adventure. I planned the trip to Poland, where I visited my brother's family again in Kraków at the end of November, and right after that continued on a solo trip in Gdańsk in December. I was in Kraków several times before, so I just enjoyed chilling walks and favorite places, also spending time with family, including a new 2-month-old member. This is one of the corners of my favorite coffee and books vintage style shop. In addition to the atmosphere, the pumpkin pie there is perfect, just believe me. And here are some key moments from my walks. Old oil pastels box from the Museum of Stanisław Wyspiański, my favorite Polish artist. Cozy things I saw in creative shops and on Christmas fair. And one of the street lanterns, which I started to notice over that trip. Also, I visited a big art store and bought some local supplies there, with which I want to make another unpacking and sketching video. The next stop was Gdańsk city. Despite the unpleasant cold weather, it was a highly inspirational trip with this view from my window and long walks through streets with all those beautiful architecture and lots of birds. And finally, a finishing spread capturing the Christmas mood that we Ukrainians miss so much for the last several years. In Gdańsk there was one of the streets with different creatures like that, which are actually rainwater gutters. I think that's very sweet. And that's it. You can clearly see how starting a tiny sketchbook with no expectations has turned into a whole memory book of such an interesting year of adventures. It's a collection of stories which I can remember later thanks to the fact that I once made these small sketches from each place I visited. After such an experience, I really recommend sketching on a road or using your own photo references later, as that's a way to create unique personal visual stories. It's about a special emotional connection when you're telling about your own life experience. I hope that this video inspired you to go on your own adventures and of course to sketch during them. And thank you all for watching, and bye!